Hello, girls. Hope you all are keeping well. Let us begin with a new topic of our Unit 3, that is 3.3, A Crow in the House. Regarding 3.2, that is Compare a Program, is for self study. So, in this topic, basically, A Crow in the House is a story by Ruskin Bond about a pet crow. The story is narrated by the boy himself. This boy brought a young injured crow home that he found fallen on the road. The boy and his grandfather tried to bring the crow back to consciousness by feeding it a little bread, milk, and grandmother's homemade plum wine. This crow soon recovered under their care. The crow was given the freedom to fly away, but instead of doing so, he made himself home in this house. And after making himself as one of the family member, the nuisance or the trouble that he causes to this family and to himself is what we are going to see in this story written by Ruskin Bond, A Crow in the House. So let's begin. The young crow had fallen from its nest and was fluttering about on the road, in danger of being crushed by a cart or a tonga. Tonga is a cart pulled by horse, or seized by a cat. When I picked it up and brought it home. So before the author or the boy noticing this crow, if the boy would have not noticed him, this crow would be definitely dead, at least eaten by a cat. It was in a sorry condition, beak gaping and head drooping. That means it was almost on the verge of death. And we did not expect it to live. But grandfather and I did our best to bring it around. That means to keep him alive. That is a phrase. So bring it back to consciousness. That's its meaning. We fed it by pressing its beak gently open with a pencil. That means to move open. Pressing means to move open. So they kept a pencil between the beak of this crow, and that is how they started feeding him. Pushing in a little bread and milk, and then moving the pencil to allow it to swallow. We varied this diet with occasional dose of grandmother's homemade plum wine, and as a result, the young crow was soon on the road to recovery. Wine is medicinal if taken in small quantity. So this wine and the care that was given by this boy and his grandfather made this crow recover very fast. He was offered his freedom, but he did not take it. So the boy and his grandfather offered him that okay, now he could freely go out and fly around and move out of the house. But no. Instead, he made himself at home in the house. Grandmother, Aunt Mabel, aunt of this boy, and even some of grandfather's pets objected. If there is one pet in the house, if a new one comes in, of course there is a rivalry or there is a difference between them. They won't stand into each other's eye. But there was no way of getting rid of the bird. He took over the administration of the house as though the entire house belonged to him. He started moving about very freely in the house and doing what he wants. At times, he also teased the pets in the house, the very much old pets in the house who were there in this house from very longer time, but now this crow started acting as their boss. We were not sure that he was male, but we called him Caesar. Before long, Caesar was joining us at meal times, beside finding his own grubs and beetles in the garden. Grubs are insects. They are a young worm-like insects. So he used to have his own party outside, and then he used to come and have meal on the table itself. He danced about on the dining table and gave us no peace until he had been given his small bowl of meat and soup and vegetable. So even as like a family member, he had his bowls. Unless and until the food was served to him in that bowl, he would not let the family have their dinner in peace. He was always restless, fidgeting about. Fidgeting is also being restless. Okay, very nervous, make restless movements, especially of hand and feet. Investigating things, that means trying to see like a detective, and trying to find new things in the house. He would hop across a table to empty a matchbox of its contents, or rip the daily paper off to shreds, into pieces. He used to tear off the papers, newspaper, or overturn a vase of flowers, or tug at the tail of one of the dogs. So this is what his pastime was, to explore things in the house and to trouble the pets in the house. That crow will be a ruin to us, grumbled grandmother, picking marigolds off the carpet. Can't you keep him in a cage? So grandmother had a dislike towards this crow because it was causing trouble in the house. It was breaking things, it was tearing off things, he was troubling them during the lunchtime. So the grandmother grumbled or mumbled in anger that this crow is going to ruin us one day. And she was picking off the carpet, the flowers that were fallen on the carpet. Of course, it was the Caesar who was behind it. So she told this boy that, can you please keep him in a cage? So we did try keeping Caesar in cage, but he was so angry and objected with such fierce clawing and flapping that it was better for our nerves and peace of mind to give him the run of the house. That means he started behaving very wild in the cage, banging the cage, moving around in the cage, because he did not want it to stay in, locked up or like a prisoner. So finally, to have a peace of mind, the boy let him out. He did not show an inclination to join the other crows in the banyan tree. Inclination means interest. Now when you see somebody of your group or your class or your type, you want to join them. You develop an interest, you start with conversation. But this crow did not wanted to join the other crows on the tree. Grandfather said this was because he was really a jungle crow, a raven sorts, and probably felt a little contemptuous of very ordinary carrion crows. Carrion crows are the normal crows that you see outside your window or around your house. Ravens are the one which you find mostly in forest. They are jungle type of crows, and hardly you see them around. Of course, they are very much present, but in small number. And you could easily differentiate between a normal ordinary crow and a raven crow. But it seemed to me that Caesar, having grown used to living with humans on equal terms, had become snobbish and did not wish to mix with his own kind. Snobbish means to think of oneself better than the other. So Caesar had developed an attitude that he was better than the crows which were outside, and so he did not wanted to join them. He would even squabble with Harold the hornbill. Squabble means quarrel, even on small matters. And you know how birds quarrel. Okay, they flap their wings and they fight with each other, trying to, to bite each other. Perching on top of Harold's cage, he would peck at the big bird's feet. Perching means sitting on. Whereupon Harold would swear and scold and try to catch Caesar through the bars. Poor Harold, he was inside the cage. What he could do is just defend himself from this Caesar the crow. Now, This is just a part of the lesson that we are going today. The more interesting part is there in the next video lesson, where we are going to see how the Caesar gets himself into trouble. Till then, thank you.